important to say they're not there because they're women.
No.
They're there because they are competent. They're there because they're giving the results that shareholders are requiring of them. I have been in situations where I'm on an interviewing panel and it's always, let's let the girl win. And I'm like, oh, well, not win, but get the job. And I'm like, when a person walks in, I'm not looking at are they female or male. I'm looking at, is this talent or not? And I think as women, that's what we're asking for. See me as talent. Don't stereotype that, oh, she got the job because she was feminine. My advice to the young men and women in the engineering sector: be available for the work, for the job. Even though you're trained as a civil engineer, don't go in there saying mine is road construction or city planning. I went into the bank. I didn't think this is money. I said, there's IT in here. I can apply my telecom experience and make a difference there. And it opened so many doors for me. So be open-minded. Whatever you have learned is just the foundation. As long as you still have life, you can make it. I think that it is very important to be confident in who you are, in what your capabilities are, in your unique self. Find what makes you different and pursue it with everything within you, and the world will take notice. So let's all play a part to make the women feel it's not a curse that you're born female, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the different stages that you have to go through life, and we're here to support you to excel. I want to speak to the female leaders out there. It's okay to have 2 women in the room. It's okay to have 3 women in the room. Let's not always feel I should be the only person that is commanding the female representation in the room. And to our male counterparts, I would like to encourage you to continue speaking for the girl child until we have enough mass where we can speak for ourselves. If my children came to me and said, Mom, I would like to put my degree on hold, I want to follow this path, obviously I'll throw a tantrum, like many parents would. But I think that we are depriving our young people from the opportunity of creativity, from them exploring what is it that they can do outside the rigid curricula of getting a degree or a diploma.
Hello, welcome to Money and People podcast, the show that connects the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. Today we talk about navigating mentorship in the engineering sector, and on our show we do have a special guest, Engineer Dr. Kangwa. Engineer Dr. Kangwa, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Okay, and just for the sake of our audience and to get to know you better, please tell us about yourself. Who is Engineer Dr. Kangwa?
Thank you. So Engineer Dr. Diana Kangwa is a telecom engineer by training, who currently is playing a bigger role around advisory services. I'm a freelance consultant. My big thing now is corporate governance. I currently sit on the Stanbic Bank board, where I chair Technology and Information Committee. I also sit on the Konkola Copper Mines board, where I chair the Risk and Audit Committee. I sit on the Engineering Investment Holdings, where again I chair Risk and Audit. So my big thing now is how do we influence strategies of organizations to make them more impactful and to make them more profitable.
Fantastic. That's a very, very strong portfolio, all those big boards. Okay. And tell us, what initially sparked your interest in engineering, and how did early experiences such as school and mentors shape your path into this field?
Interestingly, I grew up in a time when the internet was not yet a big thing. My first interaction with a computer was actually at university. So I didn't have mentors per se, as far as females that were practicing in engineering. My mother has been the biggest influence around my career. She wanted me to be a medical doctor. I loved math, and I had a fear for blood. So when after first year I picked to go into the engineering stream, she threw a tantrum. I actually had to go back to university and say, okay, mom doesn't approve. Please, can I change the quota? And I was told, well, that doesn't happen. So you're going to go into engineering. And I think with time, she saw where my passion was, my love for math and the love for seeing these abstract concepts become things that are useful, like lighting, like energy, and things like that. So yes, a strong woman in my life, but I think also the love I had for these subjects.
Okay. And how did the conversation turn around? Because you said she was a prod and she wanted medicine, but how did you get her to come on board?
I think that the results that I was getting in engineering school, in my second year, I actually did get on a Chilanga Cement scholarship because of performance, so that made her proud. And I think after I started to work and she could actually see the progress I was making in my career, I eventually became a doctor, not not in medicine, but I think the name itself made her proud. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. At least there was that strong woman pushing always.
Yeah.
And as a woman in a male-dominated industry, what were the most significant barriers you faced in your career, and how did you overcome them?
Bullying, bullying is a big thing.
Industry bullying.
Industry bullying, absolutely. I remember in one of the big roles that I had, getting into one of the first meetings with a vendor, and the vendor is making this presentation, and one of my peers, so I was already at C-suite at that time, one of my peers then looking at this vendor and saying, keep the technical language a little low, Diana needs to understand. I was like, I could take this outside, but I think let's just set the record straight while in the room. And I looked at this man and said, actually, I'm an engineer by training. I could actually walk you through this presentation. And I think that set the tone for the respect I started to have in those rooms.
What a terrible stereotype, I must say.
Absolutely.
No, that was sad. And how did you build confidence in your technical abilities? I mean, you had to overcome the bullying and all of that stuff, but also especially when transitioning from education to a professional environment.
Um, I think being a hands-on person is very important, and I think young people must not take for granted the requirement to have industrial attachment, the requirement to have exposure to what is going on within your sector so that you are able to marry what is it that I'm learning versus what is it that is actually being practiced. So when I went into industry, I already had experience on okay, there's this disconnect. Calculus says this, but actually when you're in industry, this is how you pull cable, and nobody teaches you how to pull cable when you're in class. So that really helped with the transitioning. Also, yes, you got a merit, yes, you got a distinction, but here you don't know anything. So humility when you get into industry, being willing to learn. So I went in as an engineer. I had to be willing to learn from technicians, from craftspeople, to be able to say, you know what, they have a certain skill set that I don't have. And it's easier when I am at their level to learn from them. So for young people, it's very important to humble yourself. Whatever level of papers you have, to go in there with an open mind to learn.
No, absolutely agree. Because those are the guys on the ground, so they know what's happening all the time.
And have
But
been there for years,
yes,
many
yep.
years.
So sometimes you even find someone tell you, no, don't go there.
Yeah.
And you're asking why, wondering it doesn't make logical sense. And then when you go, something happens like, yes, we told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And in your mentorship with young and aspiring engineers, what are some of the most frequently faced challenges that are brought to your attention?
Opportunities, especially for students, I think they have a big challenge how to get into industry. University says unless you do X amount of weeks, you cannot graduate, but who gets them in to get those weeks of interning? So that's a big challenge. And also we hype them. So they graduate and suddenly there's no jobs on the market. So this is also a real challenge that our young people are facing. Those that do manage to go in, especially among the females, we do have challenges with sexual harassment because suddenly some people feel we gave you this opportunity, you owe us. And these are real issues that as older engineering practitioners, we need to start to address, whether it's to open doors into our companies for young people to get that exposure, or it's being able to call out this behavior so that we curb the wrong behavior that is happening in industry.
Well, that sounds like a mouthful, to be honest.
Yeah.
Entry, you first you study engineering, especially hard as it is.
Yeah.
You can't find an opportunity for internship, and when you do, somebody thinks you owe them a favor. No. Wow. And how can apprenticeship programs be optimized to better identify and nurture talent, especially female talent, especially for those who may not follow traditional academic routes?
Um, so I think that even as we relook our curricula, apprenticeship, I think, is not something that really has gotten a spotlight, especially in Zambia. I know a young lady, and for those that follow me on LinkedIn, one of my connections is a young lady called Retiana Piri. She is a biomedical engineer by training, but has sort of put it on ice and gone into innovation, which I think speaks to apprenticeship, having real life exposure to what are the challenges and how do we solve real life problems. So I think that we need to speak more to young people around the importance of apprenticeship, that there is actually a future around young people who choose that path. In Retiana's case, she's had good exposure with the UN, a lot of programs that are being funded by the UN for high innovations and things like that. But she also has very supportive parents. If my children came to me and said, Mom, I would like to put my degree on hold, I want to follow this path, obviously I'll throw a tantrum,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
many parents would. But I think that we are depriving our young people from the opportunity of creativity, from them exploring what is it that they can do outside the rigid curricula of getting a degree or a diploma.
Yeah. Like that. I would imagine I would empathize with the parents sometimes because if somebody hasn't finished school, usually opportunities are also limited, and there's also this time barrier as well. So I'm guessing they also just come from a good place to say, we need you to finish, and then you can do whatever you want. But it also takes a lot of confidence, I would imagine, to say, okay, we understand, we don't agree with you, but go ahead, we have your back. But it has a lot of strength.
True. In Retiana's case, she's now pursuing another degree in industrial engineering. So I think, yes, for young people, at least do something to give us the confidence
Mhm.
that you know what you're
Yes.
doing, so that when you choose a different path, we have a track record
Mhm.
that you know what you are onto.
Okay, okay. And one of the challenges I've sort of encountered, I think there've been a lot of conversations about paid for internship. Do you have a take on that one? Because you find situations where somebody then says, I can't take on internship because they're not paying, it's for free. But what would your messaging be around that?
Um, so, dear Gen Z, I, I think that we need to address this entitlement mentality. On the one hand, you have people that are teaching you what will help you go ahead. In fact, you should be paying them for that, as opposed to them paying you. I do agree, though, that yes, we need to give you transport money, because if you're coming from an underprivileged background, how do you even get to this place where you're going to learn this skill set? But for them to think we owe it to them, I think it's something we need to start addressing. Think big picture. Think, if I now have this skill, how can I use it to start my own gig? How can I use it to then go into the next big thing? So I think, yes, we need to pay them, but just enough to get them to work, and not for them to expect that it should
Yeah.
come.
No,
Their focus should be, I need to get an opportunity to get a foot into industry.
and this is the internship and the apprenticeship is my pathway.
Yeah.
Also, I think the other thing I've noticed about organizations sometimes and from experience, I think should the internship be structured, or is it just bringing in people because we don't have staff? So these kids will now just come in and they'll do whatever work we're not doing right now.
I would say it should be both. So I have spent a big chunk of my career in the banking sector, and the internship opportunities there are structured because we have so many areas that you can pick from. So if we're not deliberate in saying, okay, spend 2 months in IT and spend another 2 months with HR and spend another IT in commercial, it's a bit difficult for you can imagine how bewildering it is for this young person who's come from a classroom and suddenly there's all these things that are going on. So to structure also gives them a sense of direction. On the other hand, you have smaller entities where everybody is doing everything. Those ones, I think it's also incumbent on the student to be open-minded. Go in there with what can I learn and how quickly can I learn it. For the young people that I mentor, for the young people I interact with, I'm always, you're in there to make a difference. Don't sit and wait for someone to instruct you. Quickly pick, and the quicker you familiarize yourself with what is going on, the earlier it will be for you to say, I see a gap here and I have something that I can contribute to this environment. So it just depends on what kind of environment one finds themselves in, but be open. I think that the young people we have now are so skilled. If they were allowed, they would do great things. So in some cases, we must structure. In some cases, let's allow them to show us what is going on in their minds.
Yeah, I think that would be great collaboration, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
I think, like you rightly said, and I've worked with a lot of Gen Zs. They've been exposed to a lot of things.
Yeah.
The world is so fast. There's so much information everywhere, AIs and so on and so forth. So their learning path seems to be faster than maybe what we would have experienced. And you don't want to shut that out and
Yeah.
just stick to tradition. But at the same time, the traditional ways, I think they're also great. It's just finding that common ground.
The balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how important do you think representation is in engineering industries?
And speaking about representation, I'll speak to female
Mm-hmm.
representation because I think we have enough male representation. It's important because we need the girl child to know there's women who are doing this kind of work. I did mention I sit on the KCM board. Young people need to know women can actually go underground, and it's perfectly fine. I have had exposure to Zamtel, one of the places I worked early in my career. The girl child needs to know a woman can actually go up the pole and fix a problematic transmission line, and it's normal, it's okay. So it's very important for them to see women do real things that are solving real societal problems, so that they know that I too can do this thing and can make a difference.
Do you think we have enough platforms to showcase that? Because, like you said, somebody might just not know that it can be done, but where do they then get to see it being done so that they're encouraged to go ahead to do it?
I don't think we have enough platforms. I try as much as I can to use the platforms that I have to just shine a spotlight on what young women are doing, or women in industry generally are doing. June, the world was celebrating Women in Engineering Month. And I went all out on my platform to just showcase what some young women were doing within the engineering sector. And one of the comments I got was, what about the boy child?
Right.
Right.
I was going to ask that at some point.
I'm thinking, do you know? So I'm a member, in fact, a fellow of the Engineering Institution of Zambia. And of the 95,000 engineering professionals that are registered with EIZ, only 5% are women. So you are talking about what? Maybe 5,000, 4,000 against 95,000. And the minute just one of them puts up their hand to do something, it's like, where's the boy child? So I think that as a nation, we need to be kind to our women. That if a woman is doing something meaningful, let's not quickly say, what about the boy child? Because it's that 5%, and you're not even allowing them to sit in that space of the 5%.
Are you seeing a turnaround? And maybe in the last 5, 10 years, are you seeing these numbers growing?
In the engineering sector, yes, but not growing fast enough. In other occupations, I think, yes, more and more women are taking their seat at the table. I see a lot of progress, especially in the financial sector. You can see there's more female CEOs, and they're really doing big things there. So yes, but there's a certain level of stubbornness in this cadre of women that is pushing them because of of all this opposition that they are getting from whether it's our culture, whether it's just how we have been wired to think. So we really do need more platforms.
They're actually doing great because 3 of the top 4 banks are run by females.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so and
Absolutely.
3 of the tops, and they're making and they're still topping the charts, and they seem to have sustained that growth. So the ability is there.
And that important to say, they are not there because they're women.
No.
They're there because they are competent. They're there because they are given the results that shareholders are requiring of them. I have been in situations where I'm on an interviewing panel and it's always, let's let the girl win. And I'm like, oh, well, not win, but get the job. And I'm like, when a person walks in, I'm not looking at are they female or male. I'm looking at, is this talent or not? And I think as women, that's what we're asking for. See me as talent. Don't stereotype that, oh, she got the job because she was feminine.
No, and that's really a point. And I just wonder sometimes what that also does for you if you then hear that you got the job because somebody said, let's let this one win. Even if you deserved it, it sort of must,
It demoralizes
yeah, it
you.
must demoralize you. And like earlier you mentioned bullying, there'll probably be a bully on that panel just said, oh, it's this one, yeah, the one who it just never ends. And people are
Yeah.
genuinely deserving.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how can the industry better support women from underrepresented backgrounds, ensuring that talent identification and development are inclusive?
I think from the recruitment stage, we have seen some adverts where it said women are encouraged to apply.
I saw one just yesterday.
That helps. That does help. But also to open these adverts to other parts of the country. You find that only those that are on the Copper Belt and Lusaka get to see these opportunities. The company must be deliberate. So depending on where your openings are, you can say we are interested in people in Mansa because this branch is where this talent is going to sit. So speaking to underserved sections. So it's incumbent upon the institution or the organization or the company at the point of recruitment to be very clear what is it that we're trying to achieve and are we making it a fair ground for everybody to participate in this recruitment exercise.
Okay. And in terms of measuring success, what do you think are the top metrics that companies should track to evaluate the effectiveness of their talent development strategies for especially female engineers?
I think that turnover is a good metric. If we say female engineers are encouraged to apply, and it's let's say a management trainee program, and we're looking for 100 interns or management trainees, and 20 women come in, 20 young fresh graduates come in, we can say, okay, so entry 20 came in, 20 female and 18 male. How many actually progressed to middle management? And if not all 20 are given the opportunity to go into management, the question we need to now ask is why? Is it because we got them in as females as opposed to as talent? Or is there some unspoken rules around who can actually progress and somehow biased against the female participants? We cannot ignore the fact that we have a culture where the woman takes care of the home. And even if this couple, both are engineers or engineering professionals, somehow the man is expecting when I come home, she must cook. She must have the babies in this place, so she must take time out. Are the organizations creating an environment where they allow that, yes, at entry there's this 20, but do we have a program that allows them to still grow their families and have an equal opportunity to move into middle management? So let's say, for argument, only 10 make it into middle management. Suddenly, there's a boys' club, and no, you're not allowed into senior management because this is just for the men. You understand? So when you ask me what metrics, I think HR or human capital departments need to be deliberate on who is sitting on the C-suite. Is there female representation there? Of course, female that is competent, that is good talent, but we must have a way of actually giving room. I stayed at the C-suite because I understood what I had and the value I was bringing in and could stand up and say it and they could see it. I don't know if there's many other women that can do that for themselves. So we need strong leaders that are able to pull this talent from middle to top management.
It could also be an issue of what you talked about. I mean, some people just handle things differently. So the gentleman then says, tone it down a little bit. Say, this person won't understand. You stood up and, you know, laid the law right there. But you find not many people would have done that. They would go home and say, I should
Yeah.
have. So it could also just be a confidence issue.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also notice in organizations, I think some reports that I've read, especially in finance, you find overall company, you find there are more females. But as you're going up, the statistics just change. You find ratio all staff, it's 52-48, 52 women, 48 men. The moment you just get to middle senior management expo, it's 1-2, and you're like, but yeah, it looks like we have a bit of work there. We
Yes.
do have a bit. We do have a bit of work to do. Okay. And are there networking opportunities out there to help expand and sustain meaningful connections?
Yes. Um, and I'll speak for the Engineering Institution
Yes.
of Zambia because I'm an active member there. We do have conferences, we have public discussions where, depending on what town you are, a branch is open and we can all come and discuss water issues or discuss energy issues and things like that. Networking opportunities are there. We do also have AGMs, annual general meetings. It's incumbent on the young people to come in there and not just take selfies or pictures with who they have this high regard for, but to actually follow up with a phone call.
Yeah.
And I ask for your number. Can we have tea? I want to discuss my career path. I ask for your number. I'm struggling with the situation in my workspace. What would be your thoughts on this? So networking events are only useful depending on how far you take that relationship after that gathering.
So no selfies. Focus on business.
Selfies is good because like I meet so many people,
Yeah.
but when you come into my WhatsApp, so show me the picture and then I'm like, oh, it was this event,
Yeah.
it was this person. So they're okay. But don't end at the selfie. Follow it up so that it becomes a meaningful connection
Yes.
for you.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think you need to go back home and say we talked about X, Y, and Z. I was able to sell myself. And
Absolutely.
I think the person bought it. Even if they didn't buy it, at least it's a lesson. It's an experience that you still have and you can get better at it over time. And what role can male allies play in advocating for female talent? And how can we encourage more active allyship in the engineering community?
I'll tell you that most of the progress I ever made in my career were on recommendation by a male. And I want to speak to the female leaders out there. It's okay to have two women in the room. It's okay to have three women in the room. Let's not always feel I should be the only person that is commanding the female representation in the room. And to our male counterparts, I would like to encourage you to continue speaking for the girl child until we have enough mass where we can speak for ourselves. So hats off to the men that are encouraging female talent, and to the women that have made it to just encourage us to do a bit more.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well done to the men.
Yeah,
Those who are pushing our colleagues.
absolutely.
And how can engineering cultures evolve to support flexible work arrangements without hindering career progression for women?
Um, I'll give a shout out to Zambian breweries. They have PPE, that is a protective clothing that we use in industry. They have PPE tailored for pregnant women.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have your overall, but it actually has room for the baby, and it's things like that that make the women feel I have a place, and it's not an issue when I'm growing my family. We do have in the mines a few organizations that actually have a play area for young children. In case daycare disappointed you that day and mommy needs to work long hours, there's actually a room with play toys and things like that where kids can wait for their parents. So I think that as industry, we still have a long way to go, but there's this small initiatives that we can embark on that encourage the females that have talent to stay on and give their best because they know that you care about their circumstances.
Nice. And coming to think of it, it doesn't seem to cost much because it's just
It doesn't.
fabric redesign.
It doesn't.
Play area, you find it's a place that nobody even touches. You just make a few modifications, of course, create access, but the impact that it causes so much.
The loyalty.
Yeah, the
The
loyalty.
loyalty. I also want to thank the government. We have seen, I think, on the labor laws, how they are treating this maternity leave. I think
Maternity,
now
yes.
it's been extended to 4 months, and the man also must take paternity leave.
But they've only given us
It's
5 days.
you didn't have it in the beginning, do you know? So it's little steps like that. I think for me, it's more the message. We see you, and we're trying to see how can we support this journey of your human existence. So let's all play a part to make the women feel it's not a curse that you're born female, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the different stages that you have to go through life, and we're here to support you to excel.
And we do appreciate all of our women. I think that sometimes maybe we don't say it enough, but we know the things that they do.
Yeah.
I know, carrying a life for that long already is quite a lot of work. We wouldn't even understand it as men, but you can tell that, it's actually a lot of work.
It is.
It is a lot of work. And yeah, just nurturing that person. Yes, we can say, no, we can do this, we can change diapers, but there are certain things we just cannot do. And they seem to do it so naturally. So I think on that front, we're really, really appreciative for the women who wouldn't have made it without you.
Thank you. Okay.
And with the rapid technological changes, including AI and sustainability, how can female engineers proactively develop skills to stay relevant and leverage emerging opportunities?
So I'll speak not just to the female upcoming engineers, but to all the young engineers. AI should be our friend. We should see how can we make it work for us. There's so much that is happening now that is not in your syllabus, and it can be used for your own good. If we exploited the sustainability agenda, for example, or even AI itself, I know young people who now have taken on programming as a whole career. I think they're developing websites for people, they're developing apps for the banks also, and they're making a living out of that. And this is not something that you actually start in class to learn. So I know there's a fear that our jobs will be taken by robots, our jobs, AI is making our job or our training irrelevant. Use it to create a new path for yourself. And we'll stop then talking about employment problems, because suddenly we have these young people that are employing each other because of taking advantage of AI and also the sustainability agenda.
And it's funny that you say that. I mean, yes, there's this fear that AI is taking over jobs and so on. But from a recruitment perspective, I have been noticing a trend in recent times where, people are actually refusing permanent jobs.
Yes.
Because they're saying, no, I'm actually making more money as a consultant. And
Absolutely.
the goodness with AI, the globalization of the economy, this person probably has consultancies with 5, 6 companies, and the 9 to 5 is just not sustainable anymore. So it's not taking away jobs, it's actually possibly creating opportunities. Of course, you have to discover it, go out and get it, but you find, you interview somebody, brilliant candidate, you try to make an offer, and they say, no, I thought you were interviewing me just to be a consultant working from home. I can't come into the office. And when you sort of probe further, somebody then tells you, look, I have 3 jobs in Zambia, I have 3 jobs in the UK, 5 jobs in the US. So to have a 9 to 5 shift it's taking up so much of my time. So what I've learned is that the opportunities are actually there, and we've also just seen this rise of remote work in terms of adverts and so on. So it may not be taking away jobs. What I'm learning is that it's redefining the jobs, and it's also redefining the work cycle.
Yeah. I think that our HR departments have a lot of work cut out for them. It's how will you make your work environment more interesting, especially for these young people? You've seen that more and more we have companies now that are developing innovation hubs because they have seen that we have to start capturing this creativity that these young people are bringing in. What incentives are you giving to make them stay, right? So I think young people are an asset that companies need to start thinking around. How will we make it more interesting for them, whether it's for short-term assignments, but there's really a threat there and a big opportunity on the other hand for the young people.
And paying it forward, what's your top advice for young women just starting their engineering journeys, and men as well, just the young ones? How can experienced professionals help uplift the next generation? What are we doing to uplift them?
My advice to the young men and women in the engineering sector: be available for the work, for the job. Even though you're trained as a civil engineer, don't go in there saying mine is road construction or city planning. Go in there because civil engineering has laid the foundation for you. You can go in as water and sanitation. You can go in as roads. You can go in as city planning. You can go in for any facet within civil engineering. Be open-minded. And that's just an example. It can apply to any of the other fields. I went into the bank. I didn't think this is money. I said, there's IT in here. I can apply my telecom experience and make a difference there. And it opened so many doors for me. So be open-minded. Whatever you have learned is just the foundation for you. Be humble. You can learn a lot even from the clerk in that environment. Look out for opportunities. We've just discussed AI now. So much that internet has brought that can empower you to make yourself, to enrich yourself, and also to make yourself relevant to society. To the older people, and maybe still for the younger people, just because you took a picture with Diana doesn't make her your mentor. And mentorship should be something that is actually making a difference in your life, whether it's for career growth, whether it's to make you a whole person, whether it's for mental health purposes. But a mentor should be someone that is present. So for my peers, I think when young people approach you to be a mentor to them, if you don't have time, don't accept. I think that it's an investment. You need to have time to listen to what are their aspirations, what networks do I have that can facilitate their dreams. And I think that way would make it a more beneficial relationship between the mentor and the mentee.
No, that's very profound. Are you available for mentorship, and how does somebody get a hold of you?
I am available for the serious ones. I actually give homework. So you can reach me on Facebook. I have my name as my ID there, Engineer Dr. Diana Kangwa. I'm available on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. Send me a message in my inbox. I will ask you a few questions to see whether you'll be worth my time. And worth my time means I want serious people. I want people who are driven. I want to see how hungry are you for the journey that you want to embark on. And then we can see how we can progress that relationship.
Can I sign up, or am I too old?
Depends.
Oh.
I don't think that mentorship has age, actually, depending on where you are in life. Like I said, it's not always just career.
Yep.
It can be life choices.
Yes.
It can be, how do I progress from here? It can be in my business. How do I grow my numbers? I did say to you, I've sort of shifted from a 9 to 5 to helping companies make their strategies more effective, to be more profitable. So I'm open depending on what stage you are at in your journey.
On a lighter note, speaking of mentorship, I'm sure you've had a number of people approach you. What was the weirdest experience you had? And also on the flip side, what was the most memorable experience you've had over regarding somebody you actually mentored and saw them grow?
Difficult to say I've had a weird one. I've had lazy ones. The minute I say, can you write me your 3-year plan? I want to see it. I want you to break it into quarters so that I see where you're going, and then they never write back, and that's the end of our program. And so I can't say weird. I just think that we do have some lazy ones. Amazing ones has been, there are some people that I pick up as mentors when they're students. So at some point in my life, I also lectured, both at UNZA and also at UNILAS. And I have seen some students grow and now are running successful businesses, and would still once in a while check in and say, okay, so this situation, how do I handle that? For me, that's very fulfilling, because then you can see that it was not just a selfie moment. It was actually a journey that had meaningful results.
Manifested into something.
Yeah.
Final words for our audience.
As long as you still have life, you can make it. I think that it is very important to be confident in who you are, in what your capabilities are, in your unique self. Find what makes you different and pursue it with everything within you, and the world will take notice.
Engineer Dr. Diana Kangwa, it's been an honor having you on our show. I have learned a lot, and I do understand that our audience should have picked up a lot of nuggets from here. We're so grateful for having you on our show.
Thank you. Very honored that you could host me.
No, very, no, pleasure was all ours. And to our audience, remember to like, comment, and share. And also, as she had mentioned, she is available for mentorship on condition that you are serious. No jokes. We're in a phase of serious business right now. But from all of us at Money and People podcast to you, it's thank you so much and bye.